I got to know, because we've been talking about a lot of this in the context of women who are in a relationship and had a child, we're not married. So if a woman is getting divorced, does she pursue the child support first? Does she go down the road of divorce? What comes first here?
Well, you can do the child support in a divorce case. And
so it can be within the case.
Absolutely. The divorce includes all issues relative to the marriage. So the divorce would include divorce, custody, child support, division of assets, division of debts, how to divide this business that we started during the marriage, what to do with all this debt, who's going to pay this HELOC on the home. You know, the divorce deals with all of those issues. And so for women who are considering divorce, particularly if the husband is the breadwinner, I call it the Juanita Jordan model. You gather your evidence before you file your divorce. Right? You've got to make certain that your case is winnable. Strategy. I have had people come in for a consultation, women in marriages, and they might come in January, and our plan to file is June, right? Because I need them to gather information. So many times I've had women who have filed for divorce, particularly women who rely on the husband to pay for everything, all right? Your credit cards are about to get cut off. Somehow he knows somebody at the bank and they're going to remove your name from the account, or he's going to empty out that joint account and start another one in his name alone. It is important to gather documents, information, and evidence prior to filing, especially a divorce, especially for a woman who is, in charge of the household, which is work. But you've got to, get the bank statements, make sure you know what I tell these women to do? I'm almost whispering, but no, they have.
Wait a minute, and you leaned in too. You were whispering, but you leaned in. Like
I'm like, girlfriend, this is what you got to do. I have to put up on game. You've got to go in, sis. All right. And log into that bank account. Download as many statements as they will allow. Most banks are allowing 12 months, 18 months. Some banks allow you to download 3 years of bank statements.
Absolutely.
You've got to get those, not only from the joint account, but get the ones that you can get. First of all, this is going to save you money in the litigation because you don't have to subpoena the documents. Download as many of those statements as you can get. And if you are typically just signing on the tax return and you don't get to see it, girl, find that tax return. Get yourself some copies of all of those documents. The credit, that Amex, I'm telling you, Amex is like, woo-wee. That's where it's really happening. It's happening on the Amex. It's happening now more so in the, or I guess I will say in addition, in the Cash App, the Venmo, the Apple Pay. Download that stuff. I had one lady, we literally took 6 months and she would bring in statements, documents. What else did I tell her to do, Miss Married Lady? Put you some money aside in an account for yourself because he is going to cut you off as soon as he gets served.
Right.
As soon as.
Right. And we need to prepare for that knee-jerk reaction. And so, ladies, I know Tanya and I, we are laughing a little bit, we're engaging, but I want you to know how serious this is. And so I'm not encouraging, Tanya is not encouraging anybody to get divorced or to take divorce lightly. No. We don't want you to take child support lightly, but we need you to understand what level of preparation is. Your commitment to preparation. And so Tanya has listed some very specific documents: tax returns, bank statements, investment statements, credit card statements. And if you don't know what's important, get your hands on everything because you'd rather have too much than not enough. How many years should you get? As many as you can get. Because again, you rather have too much than not enough. You don't know. You're not supposed to know what you need. You're not supposed to know what you need. So that's why you should gather as much as you can and be very intentional about this, because more than likely there is going to be some fallout as a result of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so you need to, and even if you're working, you know, but you all pay bills together. He very well may stop putting his check in that joint account that you're used to paying your household expenses out of. You need to be prepared for that, because you don't want you or your children's life to change because now there's going to be a separation or divorce or whatever is getting ready to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so again, and we're not suggesting that you be deceitful. But what we're saying is this requires preparation. It absolutely requires preparation.
Right. And I like to tell women to think of it in terms of the fact that you have these children to take care of. And more so than anything, you don't want to disrupt the children's lifestyle. Because when you do that, that negatively impacts them as far as their learning, their education, their level of depression. You know, kids start to act out in families that have divorce. And so we don't want to have a lot of transition and change in the household to the extent possible. So a lot of times these women, sometimes they love their spouse or child's father so much that they feel like they're hurting him. And I say, instead of focusing on him, let's focus on the kids. And what are their needs and what do you need to maintain them? If they're in daycare, if they're in private school,
Sure.
how are we going to pay for these things? A lot of times we have to ask for an emergency hearing as soon as we file.
Right.
To get the financial situation set up on a temporary basis while the case is pending.
Right.
Because that's the most important. And, you know, so when you get hit with this counterclaim for custody, it can be all sorts of things that are going on. A lot of times, if dad's asking for custody, now there's going to be a guardian ad litem appointed, which is an attorney that represents the children. That's more expense, more time. So you kind of got to get your mind around it and be prepared and be strategic.
Right. So let's talk about the married woman whose spouse is out of the house now. Mm-hmm. So for whatever reason, he's not there anymore. Now she's maintaining the household, but she can't do it without support. But maybe she's not sure if they're actually getting a divorce. Maybe it's some sort of separation, whether it's a legal separation or not. Can she apply for child support?
She can. And by the way, we don't have legal separation in Georgia.
Okay.
So we don't have that. But let's say the husband's out of the house. He may still be paying the bills at the house. Sometimes that happens a lot. He'll be gone, but he's still paying the bills. So she can file for child support. Sometimes if he's paying more, it's important to get a consultation because the child support laws in Georgia are very dad friendly. I guess I will say it like that, or non-custodial parent friendly, because Georgia has a cap on child support. And so sometimes people come in for a consultation and I'll run a child support worksheet with the information that they have. And as it turns out, going through formal child support might be less than what the guy is already giving voluntarily. And so I will tell, yes. So unless they've got support.
That's interesting. So who would ever think that you could potentially be receiving more than what the courts would say that you're entitled to?
That is important because some men, even though they don't want the relationship with the mother of their children anymore, they still take care of the household and they still take care of the kids.
Right. And
so if now we're going to poke the bear, before you file, let's see what that's going to look like financially.
Right. That's a good point. Great strategy.
Now, and now you can't help if he files against you, but if he has a history of paying, keep records of all of what he's doing. Because sometimes these men will be taken out of the house, taking care of their household, and the mother's or wife is fine with that until such time as now he's got a new woman.
Right.
And that new woman says, you've got to stop sending all that money over there.
Absolutely. Right.
So if he's out of the house and he's taking care, make a good record of what he's doing for you, so you can be prepared for whatever may come. Because just because he's being helpful and good to you and the children outside of the house now, that doesn't mean that's forever.
Right, right. Perfect segue to my next question. And I've heard you say this before, Tanya. Why is it important to have court-ordered child support, even though you and your child's father get along well?
Because he can stop at any time. He can just simply stop, and then you have to go through this. What if he stops and you're in the middle of paying for tuition at either a daycare or a private school? What do? I mean, those schools have deadlines. Daycare is weekly. You can't go very long without paying before they tell you that your child can't come back. So I always encourage women, if they can, save up as much money as they can, which sometimes may be hard if you don't have a lot coming in, but you really want court-ordered child support because that is enforceable. If he doesn't pay pursuant to the court order, then you can file a petition for citation of contempt. Now, some of these ladies, we get in contempt court and they get soft on me.
Right.
Because when I file for contempt, I feel like, and it is, it's a crime not to support your children. By the way, if you have a court order for child support and dad doesn't pay and you have no money for an attorney, none, you can go file a criminal warrant for abandonment. I'll say it again. You have a court order for child support. You have no money. You can't afford a lawyer. You can go file a warrant for criminal child abandonment.
And a woman does that where? That's typically with what child support office? That's with who?
No, that's not with the child support office. That's with the, you would go typically to the magistrate court, wherever you take out other criminal warrants, okay? Wow. And you do that in the, yes. You do that in the county where he resides. I guess that's where the crime has been committed. It's a crime not to support your children when you have a child support order. And all that needs to happen is he not pay for a period of 30 days straight. So a lot of these ladies are letting these guys stack up this doggone child support arrearage, and they don't have the money for an attorney. You can go down there and do that every 30, 4 days, honey. He up in there with your paying. Now, if you have money for an attorney, you can make certain that you get your child support. That's one way you can do it. Now, that's a hassle, I know.
Right.
So the other way is to file a petition for citation of contempt, in which I ask for, depending on the amount, that dad be incarcerated until he purges himself of his contempt by paying all of the money. And I further ask for all of the attorney's fees, which most of the time you're going to get a majority of the attorney's fees unless they're unreasonable. But typically you're going to get all those fees for filing contempt with respect to child support. But that's at the end of the case. So you still have to kind of come up with a retainer for an attorney.
Right.